Okay, 6 p.m. We're on. So welcome back. We are the Source of All My Good practice module group in order to get the big picture of what the ACI Foundation courses have to offer to you, and a glimpse into the big picture of what's in store for you as a apparently suffering human being that doesn't have to stay that way if you don't want to. So let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. We'll do our usual opening prayers, and then I'll read the text, and then we'll do our meditation preliminaries. So bring your attention to your breath. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And see them appear before you just by way of your thinking of them. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion. Their wisdom radiates from them, a beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Think about how much you would like to be able to help them. And how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them. in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. We believe it's possible. And so grow that wish. Grow it into a longing. Into an intention. And even into a determination if you feel ready. Then turn your mind back to your precious holy guide. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn, what we need to do to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands. And we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened. To the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened. To the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this practice and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened. To the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings reach their Buddhahood for the benefit of every other. So be comfortable and just listen. I'll read the source of all my good. So if translators have that already translated, you're welcome to just read it also. You don't have to wait for me. Okay, ready? The source of all my good, written by Jetson Kappa 1357 to 1419. The source of all my good is my kind Lama, my Lord. Bless me first to see that taking myself to you in the proper way is the very root of the path, and grant me then to serve and follow you with all my strength and reverence. Bless me first to realize that the excellent life of leisure I have found just this once is ever so hard to find and ever so valuable. Grant me then to wish, and never stop to wish, that I could take its essence night and day. My body and the life in it are as fleeting as the bubbles in the sea froth of a wave. Bless me first thus to recall the death that will destroy me soon, and help me find sure knowledge that after I have died, the things I have done, the white or black, and what these deeds will bring to me, follow always close behind, as certain as my shadow. Grant me then ever to be careful to stop the slightest wrong of the many wrongs we do, and try to carry out instead each and every good of the many that we may. Bless me to perceive all that's wrong with the seemingly good things of this life. I can never get enough of them. They cannot be trusted. They are the door to every pain I have. Grant me then to strive instead for the happiness of freedom. Grant that these pure thoughts may lead me to be watchful and to recall what I should be doing. Grant me to give the greatest care to make the vows of morality the essence of my practice. They are the root of the Buddha's teachings. I have slipped and fallen into the sea of this suffering life. Bless me to see that every living being, every one my own mother, has fallen in too. Grant me then to practice. Grant me then to practice the highest wish for enlightenment, to take upon myself the task of freeing them all. Bless me to see clearly that the wish itself is not enough. For if I am not well trained in the three moralities, I cannot become a Buddha. Grant me then a fierce resolve to master the vows for children of the victors. Grant that I may quickly gain the path where quietude and insight join together. One which quiets my mind from being distracted to wrong objects. The other which analyzes the perfect meaning in the correct way. Grant that once I've practiced well the paths shared and become a vessel that is worthy, I enter with perfect ease the way of the diamond, highest of all ways, holiest door to come inside for the fortunate and good. Bless me to know with genuine certainty that when I have entered thus, the cause that gives me both the attainments is keeping my pledges and vows most pure. Grant me that I may always keep them, even at the cost of my life. Bless me next to realize the crucial points of both the stages, the essence of the secret ways. Grant me then to practice as the Holy One has spoken, putting all my efforts in and never leaving off the practice of the 4 times highest that there is. Bless me, grant me, that the spiritual guide who shows me this good road and all my true companions in this quest live long and fruitful lives. Bless and grant me that the rain of obstacles, the things within me and outside me that could stop me now, stop and end forever. In all my lives, may I never live apart from my perfect lamas. May I bask in the glory of the Dharma. May I fulfill perfectly every good quality of every level and path, and reach then quickly the place where I become myself, the one who holds the diamond. Let's do our preliminaries. So settle into a comfortable upright position. We won't worry so much about meditative posture as just getting comfortable and then staying put. And when you're set, bring your attention back to your breath again. We're training our body and mind that when we focus on the breath, it's time to meditate. If you find yourself off the breath, just come back. Now intentionally turn your attention from your breath to that precious holy being before you. See them there? Think of one of their good qualities that you admire, that you aspire to become like. And tell them, wow, you are so amazing in this way. I really, really want to become like you. and see them acknowledge you. Grow your gratitude to them. Think of what they've done for you so far. Or what you have seen or believe they've done for others. With that sense of admiration and aspiration, make them an offering. It's a way of our minds seeing ourselves honor them. What they like best is your offering of something from your practice, some specific way that you put into practice something they have taught you or shown you. My coworker yelled at me again, and I wanted to yell back, but I remembered, and I didn't. And it was hard, but I'm glad I did it, and I offer it to you. Please continue to help me. And see them again, happy with you. You feel their love for you. You feel their compassion for you. And so you feel safe to confess to them some negativity that you've been carrying in your heart, either an old one or a new one. Tell them, I got so mad at my dog, I locked her out. I know the seeds that planted in my mind, they're going to grow into a lot of nasty stuff. I really regret it. I wish I could be more patient with her. I'm going to apply an antidote. Like, I'll stay awake and finish this class. And then I'll establish a power of restraint. Next time I get annoyed with her, I'll sit down and play with her. And then I make a note to myself to actually do that. And again, we see that holy being really happy with our honesty. Our growing wisdom. And so we rejoice in the goodness that we see in our world, specific things. Tell them of some goodness you saw someone else do. Tell them of some goodness you've done. Try even to tell them of some goodness that someone you don't like so much has done. And see them so happy with this you're offering. And recognizing that it's their inspiration of us that helps us in our practice. Ask them, please stay close to me. Please continue to teach me and guide me, and even challenge me if I'm ready. I dedicate whatever goodness I've done so far, every goodness I'll ever do, I dedicate it to all the suffering of all of existence being ended soon. And finally, ask them, please bless me to gain insight from this class about how to use these practices. And then when you're ready, bring your attention back to you in your room. Feel yourself there. And then when you're ready, open your eyes, take a stretch. Okay. The meditation preliminaries are called the warm-ups for our actual meditation session, similar to how, as an athlete or, dancer, you warmed up and stretched before you trained or performed. Only in that case, worldly preliminaries, we believe that if I stretch and warm up my muscles, then they won't get hurt when I push myself to my maximum capacity. As if something I did a half an hour before could have an effect on what happens a half hour later. Similar with the meditation preliminaries, we're doing the warm up of our mind and heart so that they're ready and prepared to delve into the meditation practice. But technically, your preliminaries from today don't really have any effect on your meditation today. The preliminaries are planting seeds of clearing out obstacles and planting goodness. And we do them repeatedly, presumably every day. And so the seeds are growing from any given day. And the next day, those seeds are similar. So they're adding to the ones that are already there. And at some point, we do, in fact, reach some kind of threshold where the preliminaries we do today seem to make a difference in our today's meditation. But it's really that we've accumulated all this goodness of doing our preliminaries. So someday when you have time, think about the seeds you're planting when you're doing the preliminaries, and you'll see why this lineage has taught us to do them. If you were in some other meditation lineage before, my guess is they didn't give you any meditation preliminaries, right? I never got them. This tradition says, do them. Don't ever do a meditation without them. And it's because of the wisdom seeds we plant. It's one of those skillful means that from the get-go, this tradition is planting seeds in your mind for the success of your practice. And we don't even know it at the beginning. We're just like, okay, this is the path I'm on, right? And we benefit so sweetly, even without knowing. Once we know, oh, right, then the benefit can be all that swifter. So there are many different kinds of meditations. They are all useful. They all have different reasons and goals. The system this tradition teaches is a system of weaving three kinds of meditations together into one that is the subject of the course 3, applied meditation. The principle of any meditation is to train our focused attention to behave according to what we want it to do. So all of us have the capacity to single-pointedly focus on something when the conditions are right. We have enough interest, right? There's not so much outer distraction. We all have gotten lost in a good book or a good movie. But there aren't many who can decide, I'm going to go into that getting lost in state of mind at the object that I want, when I want, for as long as I want. And that's the skill of meditation, is to grow the seeds that ripen as the ability to determine my concentration on an object that is still alert, fascinated enough to penetrate into that object's true nature. And all the meditations that we learn are designed to prepare us for that. And we'll learn more about it later. Again, not all meditation traditions say your ultimate meditation is to find the true nature of the meditator, the object, and the act of meditating on the object. So it's like training a young horse to be a champion racehorse. You have to go through the steps, of getting it used to the bridle and reins, and then the saddle, and then the person on its back, and then the fact that the person's giving it instructions, until that horse is so eager to follow the rider's instructions that the rider can, right, lead it to do anything and can go on to train it to be this champion racehorse or whatever. Our minds are the same. I guess another analogy would be like a well-trained seeing eye dog, right? My mind is the puppy. I want it to become the well-trained seeing eye dog. It starts with sit, stay, right? Sit, stay, over and over and over again until it will do that. So this particular practice isn't about fine-tuning our meditation like that, although it can become that if you wish. This is a guided visualization in order to learn the steps on the path. And when we get familiar with it, we can use it to delve deeper into what does it mean to meditate deeply. So for this, we're using these mental imaginings of these series of stages of practices and realizations that we will go through on our journey from suffering human to fully enlightened being. So last class, we already introduced you to that beautiful courtyard in the middle of this building. And inside that courtyard is you, your own future totally enlightened being, manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom emanating. How did it feel for the last few days? Did you explore it? Did you even try? Does it seem like no way? Right? I can't even imagine it, which is true. We can't imagine it, the exquisiteness of it. But it is also true that someday that's going to be your reality. Will it be like the one you're imagining now? No, it'll be way better, right? This or something better. But if we don't have that as our goal, are we going to reach it? Can we reach a goal that we don't even know about? Yeah, you can, but is it likely? No. Can we increase the likelihood of attaining our goal by thinking about it, imagining it? Oh, that's just fantasy. What do they call it? Magical thinking. Kids do that. They finally grow up, unfortunately, and stop doing it. Right? It's a mistake, really. Why is it that we see ourselves and our reality the way we do now? Like everybody here already knows the punchline. The ripening of our own past seeds are making us perceive ourselves and our world in the way that we do. And they're very solid and they're very real. And we think, oh, my Buddhahood, that can't ever be as solid and real as this. It's just going to be some make-believe. But if it's true that every moment of our experience is ripening results of imprints from our own mind, then imprints made that grow into the ripening Buddha me and Buddha paradise is going to be my full-on reality, as full-on as this one. And if that were not the case, there'd be no point in doing any of this. Because nothing has any nature of its own. The nature it has is determined by the being perceiving it in the way that they do. And the way that they do is forced upon them by way of the imprints made by what? What we saw ourselves thinking, saying, and doing towards others in the past. Which means what we think, say, and do towards others now is creating our future reality of ourselves and our world. And it's always been like that. And it always will be like that. We just either never knew it or didn't believe it enough to try it on for size. And it's a big step, actually, because it does, in fact, mean that I'm personally responsible for everything. And that's too big a responsibility for most of us. And that's okay at this point, if that sounds too big. In the series of the ACI Foundation courses, we tiptoe up to it. And what I've found with people is by the time we get there, it's like, oh, it's not a burden. It's not a personal responsibility. It's a personal opportunity. And like, whoa, let me add it. So again, in this practice module, I'm hoping you'll get a glimpse of how the process will lead us along step by step, not without challenges, but not needing disasters or, great big changes on your part. So we had ourselves in the courtyard. And we had looked to the building and we saw those two doors. They're like the only two doors into the building. Maybe all the rest are windows. And so it was through those two doors that we had to exit to get into this courtyard as Buddha, us in Buddha paradise emanating. So if we go in through those two doors, we're in a room in this building that the rooms of which represent what we have to do to realize each of the different steps along the path to Buddhahood. This is the last room before you enter the courtyard. And it's called the Dzogchen room. So let me share my screen again for vocabulary. All right, so I'm just keeping this running list. You've seen it before. Someone kindly pointed out that I had Ken Rinpoche's wrong dates. So I corrected it here. He died in 2004, not 1941. Okay, down here is what we're talking about. This room that we're going to come out of into our courtyard is called the Zogrim room. It means completion stage. In order to get to Zogrim room, we will have to do something in what's called the Kerim room. Kerim means creation stage. And the link between these two rooms is a hallway called the Lerung hallway, which is the practices that we do in our creation stage level that will prepare us for the completion stage level. And then just so that I can get rid of my page, my screen share, before Karen room will come the Dulwa room. Dulwa means to tame. It means the vow discipline room. Vinaya is the Sanskrit, right? So once everybody has that, I'm going to get rid of it. Zogrim, Kerim, Lerung, and Dulwa. Okay, okay. Going once, going twice. Done. So these refer to the verse 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Verse 12, because we're going backwards, right? The last verse, bless me to become the one who holds the diamond. That's being in the courtyard. Now we're going to skip a couple and go back to verse 12 that says, bless me next to realize the crucial points of both the stages, the essence of the secret ways. Grant me then to practice as the Holy One has spoken, putting all my efforts in and never leaving off the practice of the 4 times, excuse me, highest that there is. So this verse has 3 different components to it. I'm so sorry. I'm deciding how I want to do this. So what did we have to finish in order to step through those double doors into the courtyard as totally enlightened being? Ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom emanating. We had to go through and complete the stage of practices called completion stage. So completion stage is the final set of practices that are done as part of one's Diamond Way career. The Diamond Way has 4 different levels of Diamond Way. The 4th is called Highest Yoga Tantra. And that's the level that claims or promises that the practice is done well can transform us and our world before that lifetime ends. It's not actually the practices that are so much more powerful. It's the goodness that the practitioner has done to get to those practices that makes those practices that powerful. So the Diamond Way is about learning practices and getting vows that are designed for us to plant our seeds in a way that's so much more powerful, those seeds will ripen within this lifetime. So the last stage of that has to do with practices regarding our subtle body. So we all have, as part of our being, a network of energetic channels, and they are actually the framework around which our emotional, physical, and astral bodies form. For those of us who perceive ourselves as suffering beings in a suffering world, those channels are all knotted up and twisted and messed up, so that the energy flowing through them is equally messed up, right? Clogged here, too much there, not enough here, like Chinese medicine. Only in this tradition, it's like these twists of the plumbing twist around the central channel, the main plumbing that's not even actually functioning yet, in such a way that it's like tying fishing line, around something. You can actually make loops or, with these knots, and it'll look pretty, but it's still blocking the ability of our winds and mind to move with wisdom. So all of this twisted, knotted plumbing is a result of our past ignorant liking, ignorant disliking, ignorance itself, and all the subsequent mental afflictions through which we choose our behaviors. As long as our plumbing is all knotted up, we can't actually choose our behaviors with much wisdom. When we're unknotting those tubes and plumbing, our wisdom can grow. How do we unknot the plumbing? By growing our wisdom. Well, wait a minute. What comes first? Arya Nagarjuna, right? Neither. We work on both at the same time. As our plumbing straightens out, our selfishness decreases. We get greater control over our selfishness. And as we work on our Zogrim, our completion stage practices, we actually are taking those two side channels and collapsing them into the central channel, so that we have only one channel with winds, and then that channel itself is going to collapse into itself. So in this room, our visualization of things in this room are meant to trigger our understanding of, at the completion stage, I'm working with my body and my mind in such a way to take this twisted plumbing, smooth it out and straighten it, and actually bring it into one nice tube that's finally gonna like shoot me out through those doors into my Buddha me in the courtyard. So in that room with your twisted plumbing, You'll also have a teacher. Maybe it's your same teacher, maybe it's a different one, but you have this person who knows exactly how to help you straighten out those channels. And they'll teach you a combination of exercises and meditations and breathing. And so the elements inside this room is the twisted plumbing at the door where we go into that room. And you see this twisted plumbing becoming untwisted as it moves towards the double doors until it becomes one tube by the time it reaches the double doors. Outside the tubing, somewhere there, you have this beautiful teacher. And you want something there to remind you that the practices that you'll do are partly physical. So maybe, you want a yoga mat there, if that's your way. If you're a dancer, put your bar, right? If you're a basketball player, put your hoop in your basketball, right? Something to remind you there's physical practices involved, and something to remind you that it's about the subtle body. So you could have, either a manual with pictures of your chakras or your meridians, or you could have a little video player, and the YouTube is going about your subtle body. You'll get to choose what elements when we get into actually visualizing. But we have these components, the block tubing going to straight, the teacher who's going to help, physical practices, meditation practices. So maybe you have your meditation cushion in that room as well. Okay. So I'll guide you through that when we get there. You don't have to memorize it right now. How do we get into the Zogrim room if it's the last one that we have to go through before we get out to the courtyard? So there's the Kerim room. Kerim means creation stage. So in this highest yoga tantra practice, there's the beginning level, creation stage, and the advanced level, completion stage. The creation stage is more about pretending we are the angel in a world full of angels in order to guide our behavior, in order to plant the seeds to actually see our world and ourselves in that way. It is the magical thinking. It is the fantasizing like we did as little kids. But it's done in a very detailed and proscribed way. It's called the sadhana, Sadhana, that's Sanskrit, dake. Sorry, I didn't write that down. I'll do it next time. In Tibetan. It's a book of verses. And you're granted access to this book of verses. And you learn about the meaning of the verses and how to visualize the verses. And by the time you've worked with it for a while, you end up actually having it memorized. You use that practice both on and off your cushion to create the seeds of goodness that can ripen as our completion stage practices, and those completion stage practices being successful. So if we were to try to jump right into completion stage practices without going through the doors properly, it either wouldn't work and we'd get discouraged, or it would actually work in very dramatic ways and we wouldn't know what to do with it, which can be dangerous. Or it can not work at all and we just lose interest and decide all that stuff, there's nothing to it, which are seeds planted that make it very difficult to find it again in the future. So with adequate preparation, seed planting preparation, we very naturally move from one stage of our practice to the next, even in the sense of from open teachings into the diamond way. If we do our open teaching practices well, your opportunities for diamond way will unfold. You won't have to go search them out. You won't have to ditch your family to get them, right? It will just unveil sweetly and properly. So when it unveils sweetly and properly, it starts as this creation stage. And I realize I've gone past our break time. So I'm going to time out, right? Take a break, get refreshed. We'll come back to creation stage.
Right.
Right. You don't want to go too fast. Well done. Oh my. All right, are we back? My usual students, they're short break takers. I appreciate that. Okay, creation stage is about training ourselves to recognize that people appear to us as ordinary or extraordinary by way of results of our own past behavior. Remember the pen and the chew toy. That jerk at work who bugs you so much, they're a jerk from their own side, right? They bug everybody. But their dog loves them. So that rips a hole in our belief that they are a jerk from their own side. That other person who stepped right in and did something so special for you. And wow, they must be like an angel because they knew exactly what I needed. They're an angel from their own side, right? No. Couldn't the jerk be an angel, giving me the opportunity to practice my patience with jerks? Because I'm really short on patience with jerks. Why would an angel do that? Why wouldn't the angel just take the jerk away? Because then I'd still be impatient with jerks, wouldn't I? What makes me see jerk versus angel? My seeds ripening. And then they really are jerk. Because I made them that way. Not on purpose, not by wishing, but from having been a jerk in the past. We know the punchline. So to apply our little baby wisdom, they look like jerk, but they don't have to be. They don't look like angel, but they could be. And I'm going to respond to them in some way. Will I respond to them differently if I let myself still see them as jerk versus I decide I'm going to see them as angel? You know, if an angel showed up in your life, would you be nice to them? I hope so. Same kind of idea. Creation stage goes even a little bit further because maybe we don't really even believe that a fully enlightened being would ever appear to me. And when we are at this level of training, where we're intent on becoming that fully enlightened being for others' benefit, then we really do want to know that there are other beings who are doing that too, or who have actually already done it. Thank you very much. And it would be very helpful to actually see them in the world around us. And it can only happen if we plant the seeds for that to happen. So technically, the way we plant the seeds is we help somebody else see angels, right? And technically, what we're taught in our creation stage is that we're trained to recall the emptiness of those we're interacting with and impose upon ourselves, because they're blank, they could be a fully enlightened being. And so I will respond to them as if they are, to plant seeds in my mind for them to really look like that to me someday. And in the process, you plant the seeds for you to really look like that to someone else someday. And part of the practices of creation stage is in imagining yourself helping other beings do that same thing, which is how our creation stage practices really work, is because you imagine bringing others to their goal. And that's what allows your own goals to be reached. So in this creation stage room, Geshe-la suggests there's the entry to the room and there's the exit, right? And we're going backwards. So we're going in the exit. But at the entry, people there look ordinary. Maybe your ordinary you is in there, your family, your coworkers, everybody looking ordinary, doing ordinary things. And then you'll have your practice text and maybe something, your incense box or something to indicate that you're doing this daily. And as you get to the exit of the room, now those people look like fully enlightened beings. They look like angels. Maybe they're flying in the sky. Maybe they're glowing in light. How would you recognize, a fully enlightened being if they showed up to you? Right? Would they need to be walking on water or floating in the sky? Whatever, however you're going to recognize them. Ordinary at the front of this room, angel at the exit. Okay, to remind ourselves of what we're working on in our creation stage. Now, the creation stage room and the completion stage room, they actually don't touch. There's a hallway between. We have to do something with our creation stage practice in order for our completion stage practice seeds to ripen and us to get there. So there's this hallway that this verse, the verse is saying, through the practice of the 4 times highest that there is. So let me read the verse again so we remember where we're at. Bless me to realize the crucial points of both the stages, the essence of the secret ways. Grant me then to practice as the Holy One has spoken, putting all my efforts in and never leaving off the practice of the 4 times highest that there is. So this hallway between those 2 rooms is called the hallway of the 4 times. What 4 times has multiple meanings. In our tradition, highest yoga tantra practices that are granted were given the commitment to do 4 Lerong retreats before we die. And in those special retreats, we're taught to do practices 4 times a day at certain times of day. And we're doing the same practice 4 times a day with just variations in focus. And that in those retreats, in those 4 sessions, our commitment is to complete amongst the 400,000 of our practice mantra. So there's something about that 4 number. So there's this hallway between creation stage and completion stage. And it has to do with our creation stage practice of learning to interact with others as though we see them as angels even before we do. And that the way we grow that ability is by doing these retreats. And in those retreats, we do the 4 sessions. And that those 4 sessions of our 4 retreats is our opportunity to dive really deeply into the practices that plant the seeds for our transformation of ourselves and our world by way of the Zogrim. So we can get our creation stage practice given to us, and we can do it daily. But if we never take it into deep solitary retreat and work with it, it won't ever, it's less likely to come alive for us. So in the Lamrim, those retreats are considered a step of their own, a realization of their own. So our building that we have so far might look like this. Okay, this is my audio visual. Here's your courtyard with Angel U. Here's the Zogrin room, the 2 double doors. So inside your Zogrim room, you've got the messed up plumbing, moving to the straightened out plumbing. You've got a teacher, you've got a practice text, got your meditation cushion. Who's not muted? Whoever's not muted, please mute. Right? And you've got your happy you moving through here, fixing your channels. The way you got here was that you gathered the goodness of your creation stage practice with the practice of the 4 times. So in this hallway, you will enter here and go out there. There's a shelf along one wall. And that shelf has these like 4 different stations. And in each of the station, you want to have some item that reminds you of your deep meditation on your sadhana in retreat. So you could have in each bay, you know, a candle or an incense box or your meditation cushion, something that will tell you 4 deep practice sessions in solitary. Gets me from creation stage to completion stage to my Buddha me and my Buddha paradise. Right, you with me? How do we get into being able to do our 4 retreats with our 4 sessions? We are learning our creation stage practices. So this is K-Rim room. At the entry of K-Rim room, you know, your people look ordinary. As you move through K-Rim room, where you yourself are working on your own attitudes and awarenesses, these beings are starting to look and act like more extraordinarily. You know how those synchronicities happen and that person is just exactly what you need at just the right moment? Or you're that for somebody else? Those kinds of things happen in this K-Rim room. So somehow come up with a way of having something in that room that reminds you, right? Ways that you've had angel interactions maybe. And then by the time you get to the exit of this room, you're seeing others, you know, as full-on holy beings. Not all others necessarily, but some. Okay. Now we need to get into our K-Rim room. And that has a hallway from what comes before it into the K-Rim room. So let me talk about these, at least this one, and then we need to do the visualization that will take us all the way. All right, so this next room is from another verse. So all of these rooms, K-Room, 4 times hallway, and Zogrim room are from the one verse that we just talked about. Now we're going to go up a verse in the prayer. How did I manage to get into the Diamond Way? Okay. Actually, we haven't got there yet. That's this. What's this hallway? I'm putting my board down. Okay, so this verse says, bless me to know with genuine certainty that when I have entered thus, meaning entered into the Diamond Way, the cause that gives me both the attainments is keeping my pledges and vows most pure. Grant me that I may always keep them, even at the cost of my life. The verse before that, let's go ahead and do it. It says, grant that once I have practiced well the paths shared and become a vessel that is worthy, I enter with perfect ease the way of the diamond, highest of all ways, holiest door to come inside for the fortunate and good. That's referring to when our open teaching practices are ripening sweetly, the opportunity to enter the faster way reveals itself to us. And we get granted the privilege of those practices. But then the verse we're working on says, bless me to know with genuine certainty that when I've entered in that way, the cause that gives me both the attainments of creation stage and completion stage, is keeping my pledges and vows most pure. When we receive our Diamond Way initiation, what we actually receive are tantric vows, Diamond Way vows. So we already had vows going into that. But the Diamond Way gives us a whole nother set. And vows are useful because taking and keeping vows is a method through which we can gather the goodness of our behavior changes moment by moment, rather than only in the moments where a certain situation related to that behavior comes up. So for example, if we have the 5 lifetime lay vows, one of them is killing a human or a human fetus. I'm guessing we've all decided we're not going to kill a human. But the only time, without having it as a vow, the only time we gather the goodness of not killing another human is when we're in a situation where we could or might, and we don't. We choose to not. Then we gather some tremendous goodness. But when we take a vow to avoid killing a human, every moment we're not killing a human, we are getting the goodness of keeping the vow to not kill. So are you killing a human now? No. Now? No. Now? No. Right? Are you keeping your vow now? Yes. Now. Yes. Now. Yes. Do you see how powerful they are? I don't know other traditions that give vows in this way. We also have like non-religious vows. Right? Anybody married? You have marriage vows. When we go into medicine, we take the Hippocratic Oath. Somehow I never did that. But go into military, you make an oath, right, to protect your country. We do vows. But in terms of spiritual practice vows, we tend to think of them as, cloister vows, and they inhibit your behavior and they restrict you. And they're really not that at all. They're amazing guidelines in behavior and opportunities to gather goodness much more swiftly than we otherwise could. So open vows, we get refuge, which aren't really vows, they're advices. We get our freedom vows, which include the 10 non-virtues to avoid them, but those also are not actually vows because we can't actually do them. And then we have either ordained freedom vows or lifetime lay vows, actual vows, and then bodhisattva vows as we're moving through. And then there's a whole nother set of diamond way vows that build on those others. They are not new and different. They're more subtle, more difficult ways of working with our open vows. So this verse is saying that when I get into the diamond way and I get my diamond way vows, the only way my creation stage practices are going to be successful to move me into completion stage success is if I keep my vows really well. And the thing is with those vows is that many of them are stated in the positive wording, I will do this. Whereas all our open vows are stated in the negative, I will avoid doing that. And it's much easier to keep vows that we avoid doing stuff than it is to keep vows where we say we will do this and this and this. And so not to be taken lightly, but they're designed for us to plant our seeds with such power that those seeds ripen within this lifetime. For good or for bad, depending on how well we do it or don't do it. So there's this whole room, it's a hallway, actually, where we're reminding ourselves of the need to know our vows, track our vows, choose our behavior according to our vows. And it's a hallway. Where'd my board go? It's another hallway between our kerem and this round room, which is our initiation room, which is where we gain entry into the diamond way to begin with. So it's again a hallway kind of thing that represents our vows. So when we step into this hallway, we'll want to have inside there, like on a shelf along the hallway wall, like a booklet that's laid out that has all the vows. And, Geshe Michael says they're reading themselves out loud, right? So the booklet's talking to you. I pledge to da, da, da. And then as you move through the room, you see in there whatever method you have for tracking your vows, for checking your behavior and tracking your vows. Whether it's your 6 times book that you write it down, or, there's the Keep My Vows app on your phone. If you haven't found that, Keep My Vows app. And whatever method that you use, have some symbol of that in this room. And by the end of that hallway, have something there that indicates that you are choosing your behavior according to your vows, and you're happy doing that. Like it's easy. I don't know what that might look like. I just see a happy me interacting with others with kindness. But yours can be, right? Something that indicates you're keeping your vows. So that when you walk through the door into your creation stage room, the ordinary beings there will become angels by the time you get to the other side. All right, you with me? Oh, I wanted to do the initiation room too, but it's too long. So we'll do that next class. So let's take a break again, get refreshed, come back. We'll start from the courtyard and we'll back our way through these rooms. Okay, and start to fill in the details of your rooms. Different classes will go backwards and forwards so that you'll learn it by the end. Okay. Are we back? Okay, so take a position where you can be comfortable, propped, and can sit still without falling asleep. Invite your body to relax. And bring your attention to your breath. Now recall that precious holy guide there with you. Ask them to help you with this guided visualization, to help you stay bright and clear and creative. And recall again that there's someone in your life, in your world, who's hurting, that you want to be able to help in that deep and ultimate way. And that's the real reason you're learning this. And so for their benefit, see in your mind's eye that central courtyard inside that building. A beautiful garden, peaceful, perfect temperature, fragrant flowers, beautiful colors. And you notice, oh my gosh, there I am. Sitting in that beam of sunlight, body made of countless kindnesses ripening. Beautiful, youthful, supple, happy. A mind of radiant love. Holy great compassion. Knowing directly all things, all beings. What they need to reach their own ultimate happiness. And spontaneously emanating. Anything anyone needs or wants. Our emanations perpetuate our goodness. We are aware of our own blank nature. We are directly aware of what we did to create the seeds that are ripening this reality. And so for fun, one of our emanations walks through those double doors into our Zogrim room. We see how the single pipe to the double doors is smooth and straight and shiny. But as we move along it, we see twists and turns and knots and complications. That we straightened out by way of physical exercises, by way of meditation exercises, by way of being guided through those by that special angel being who's in that room with us. So see those different elements of that room. Review it in your mind. The plumbing, the teacher, physical practices, meditation practices, guidelines for doing so. You recognize how enjoyable that stage of your transformation was. And you recognize that to get there, you had come through that hallway of the 4 times practice. So go through that doorway into the hallway of the 4 times. See the 4 stations. Maybe 4 little altars, offering bowls, or meditation cushions. I actually put windows in each of these sections, or maybe they were more like mirrors or paintings. And as I did my 4 times practices, different things would show up outside the window or in that mirror. Deepening realizations that come when you spend 4 or 6 weeks in silence by yourself. Running this movie in your mind again and again of how to become the one who will help all beings stop their suffering forever. Four times a day, with nothing else to be responsible for. It leads us from creation stage to completion stage. So again, that angel being in this room, recall that those 4 practices were pleasurable, hard work, but amazing. And then decide to go visit the creation stage room, go through the door. And since we're going backwards, you're going in the exit. The beings at the exit of your K-Rim room look like angels look like enlightened beings, emanations, whatever that looks like. You decide. Maybe they're reading your mind. Maybe they're offering things to you that only you know you would enjoy. Maybe you see their rainbow bodies of light, or they have wings and halos like the tradition. Up to you. And as you move towards the actual entry of that room, you see your sadhana book with the prayers and the instructions about how to interact with others as if they are already these angel beings, even if we didn't see them that way yet. And the instruction for us to behave as angel beings, even if we don't see ourselves that way yet. What item or items can be in your room that remind you of that practice? And as you move to the entry door, the beings in the room look ordinary. You even see yourself looking ordinary. But turn around and look back into the room's exit and see how the practices that you did created the transformation of these beings from appearing ordinary to appearing extraordinary, appearing divine. Recall that they are neither from their own side. It's you who have changed. And we recognize that we would not have had success in this room if we hadn't already gathered enough goodness. And so we step into the hallway before our Keirim room, which is the hallway of keeping our pledges and vows most pure. Those pledges and vows refer to our diamond wave vows, but our diamond wave vows are based on our open teaching vows and pledges. So at the exit of this room, you have something that shows you that your practice of keeping your vows is successful, it's habit, no struggle. Maybe a stack of your 6 times books. Maybe a photo of a really happy you. And as you move through the hallway, partway through, you see your 6 times book setting itself up, or your phone alarm going off at the different times to check your app. Something to remind you of your effort. And at the entry to the room, there's a book with its pages open, with the vows either speaking themselves out loud or somehow popping up so that you can read them one after another. You're seeing all those guidelines of behavior. Avoid this, do this, so that you make the seeds that will ripen someday as Buddha you in Buddha paradise, emanating as everything that will bring happiness to everyone else. We would want to do those behaviors, wouldn't we? Not restrictions, guidelines. So let's quickly go forward. We're in the vows room, keeping my pledges and vows most pure. That allows us to go into our Karim room. We have our practice text. We have our meditation cushion. We have our beings looking ordinary. We have our interaction with them. And as we move through, they're changing. Now they have magical powers. And so do I. And we move into the hallway of the 4 times. Our 4 retreats with the 4 different sessions each day, where we're spending time in this magical world in order to plant seeds in an undistracted way. And as we move through those 4 times, those seeds planted help us move into the door of the completion stage room, where we see directly our very subtlemost being is still all twisted up and needs help. And our precious being who's there to help us, teaching us physical practices, meditation practices, giving us a practice text. And as we do the work, our plumbing straightens out. Our selfishness dissolves away. Our wisdom grows. Our love grows. And little by little, it all comes together to this being made of zillions of goodnesses, a manifestation of ultimate love ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom, the you in that courtyard, shining forth that love as your emanations. So from this state, recall that being you wanted to be able to help at the beginning of class. We have in fact done so, or at least planted seeds to be able to do so. And that's a great, great goodness. So be happy with yourself. Think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall that precious holy guide, the one there with you, who's been showing you and inspiring you. See how happy they are with you. Grow your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. And ask them to please stay close, to continue to guide you and teach you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and they bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. That love, that compassion, that wisdom, adding to yours. It feels so good, we want to keep it forever. And so we share it by the power of the goodness that we've just done. May all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person, to share it with everyone you love, to share it with every existing being everywhere. And may it be so. So bring your awareness back to your body in this room. When you're ready, open your eyes, take a stretch. And please explore these rooms. Okay? What items you want to have in there. Don't clog them up, but you can be specific. Okay? All right. Any burning questions? Yeah, good. All right, then.
I have a question. Can I?
Okay. Yes.
In the visualization, you know, I am very literal. So when I am an angel and then I'm walking through the door and then I see my teacher, but then the teacher, I should see it as an angel also.
Yes.
And then what happens with the teacher when I continue? That the teacher stays?
Right. That teacher stays in that room. And then as we go through, when we get back, and start going forward, we'll have a teacher with us the whole way. But for right now, it's too much. So that teacher stays in the Zogren room.
And then it's important that we see ourselves, like not seeing ourselves outside, like seeing ourselves, how to say that?
Yeah. So for those literal minded, like Louisa and me, actually, when I go through the double doors, I'm no longer enlightened me, right? I'm Zogrim training me. And as I go backwards through, then I'm unevolving.
Okay. But
And
you see yourself outside, or just you
right,
see yourself that you are walking what you
I'm in those rooms, right? I'm in those rooms.
Okay. Thank you, teacher.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, my dears. Please do the review meditation. I'll see you on Thursday. Okay. All right. Thank you, translators, and all the rest of the team, recording team. There's as much team as there are students. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, teacher.
Yeah,